that takes care of the back of the house. You wanna go around and take the lights off the front?
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, hey, by the way, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I don't know who'd get on that roof. You were awesome.
Yeah. Is that the house you were talking about?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They leave their lights up all year round.
They leave their lights on all year long. Here, check it out.
So they leave their lights on all year long?
All year long. And those bulbs change according to whatever holiday season it is.
Get out.
Can't, wish I could.
So like July 4th?
Those bulbs come red, white, and blue.
Thanksgiving.
Harvest colors.
Halloween.
Black and orange.
Memorial Day.
Camouflage.
Get out.
Can't, wish I could.
I bet it's embarrassing for the neighbors.
Oh, the neighbors. We're totally embarrassed. We complain about it all the time. Oh, and when there is no holiday season going on, those bulbs become little red hot chili pepper lights.
What?
Yep.
Give me one good reason why you should celebrate the pepper.
Can't, wish I could.
It's like your neighbors are the Motel 6.
And my wife, she's always saying, let's just leave the lights on just a little bit longer. Let's just stay in the spirit of things. But when Christmas is over, you take down the lights. Am I right?
I don't know. I'm not even the right guy to ask. I don't even put lights on my house.
Why don't you put lights on your house?
I'm afraid of heights. But the question is, why do you put lights on your house?
To celebrate Christmas, the birth of Christ, all that kind of stuff.
There you go. That's your answer.
What?
If you don't want to celebrate Christ all year long, then take the lights down.
That's not what I was saying. You're putting words in my mouth. You're siding with my wife.
Hey, I'm not siding with anyone. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you and God were,
On the outs?
Yeah.
We're not on the outs. Me and God, we're very tight. We're very, very tight.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Prove it.
Prove what? Are you daring me to leave my lights on all year long?
Hey, no dare here. I'm just saying, you gonna let your little light shine?
Wait! Man the ladder, my friend.
What?
Man that ladder. We're gonna get back up there and hang these lights.
No. Oh, I was just kidding.
Oh, yes. It is gonna be a proclamation of my faith.
Didn't you hear? I'm afraid of heights.
You're already up there. Honey, get the apple cider ready. Put on the Perry Como records. These lights are gonna shine. Get back here. These lights have to shine.
How many people put their Christmas lights away this last few weeks? Nobody did? You guys still have yours up. Maybe you're like the video. A few of you guys keep it up. How many guys kind of get the after Christmas blues? Did you ever get that? You know, it's like you get so excited to like decorate and get ready for Christmas and New Year, and you get everything, the trees up and all the bins down from the attic, and you get all the stuff out. And that's always an exciting time. You get the Christmas music playing, you get the hot apple cider, you do all those things. And then after Christmas, it's like, oh, we got to put this stuff away. In fact, we put stuff away, but yet then it got like 80 below zero out, and then we couldn't put the bins in the garage, and so we had like bins everywhere in our house. And but each year before Christmas, each year it's kind of this thing where I prove my love to my wife. And I don't know if you can relate, but hanging the Christmas lights on the outside of the house, if you've driven by our house, my wife loves to decorate our house, okay? She loves Christmas, and that's awesome because my mom was just like that. I grew up in a house, but my wife has tailored it down a little bit. I grew up with Christmas abuse, and for my mother, we had like 2 full-car garages just of Christmas decorations. We used to have 8 to 9 live Christmas trees in our house. We cut down a whole forest to put them inside, okay? And so it's been tailored, but I love Christmas, okay? And it's just an awesome time of year. But each year, I'd have to prove my love to my wife, and so she'd be like, please, can you hang these lights up, okay? Well, and it started in Montana. We had this 2-story house in Montana, and she wanted to do these icicle lights. And so I'm out there, and I put them up, a little bit before the snow came, and everything was great. And they looked amazing out there, and it's like 2 stories up. I mean, it's like, and I'm not very comfortable with heights. I mean, I can do it, but I'm not super comfortable. But what happened is that we had a little storm come through, and then like half the lights got flipped up. The icicle lights got flipped up on top of the roof. And so she's like, you got to fix those. Those don't look right. But the only problem is it also snowed a bunch, right? And this is no joke. I'm on the roof, and I'm on the far edge, 2 stories up, and I'm trying to hang on there, and all of a sudden I'm like gonna just kind of like lower myself down to the edge and then try to flip them over. And as I'm starting to lower myself, I start sliding. And I'm grabbing the sides of the house, or the little side of the roof right here, and that's the only thing that stopped me, and I'm inches from flying off this roof, just like Christmas Vacation. Have you ever seen that movie? That was me right there. And it was scary, and you know what? I fixed those lights, thank you very much, and they looked awesome. In Minnesota, same thing, except I don't know why we buy these houses that are 2 stories, like super tall with a 12-12 pitch, and she asked me to go out there and hang Christmas lights on a 12-12 pitch. If you know what that is, that's pretty much just straight up and down. I couldn't even get footing when it was not bad weather. And I'm out there, and, before we're looking up, and I'm making sure that, we know where these are supposed to go. And she's like, yeah, I want them right in that peak up there, which is like now 3 stories up in that thing right there. And then I'm like, I might as well just put my outline of where I'm going to die right now. We started kind of laughing about it. I'm going to die at that moment. Now I start in October. I've gotten smart. I start in October, get the lights up, and it's amazing because whenever we get them all up there and I get them up there, the coolest thing ever, my wife gets so excited, and I have her come stand in the street. It's like the Chevy Chase and the music's playing, and we're all good. We light the Christmas lights, we stand back and we watch, and it's like this awesome moment, and she's so happy. She's got the biggest smile on her face. She goes, oh, I love you so much. And she makes me hot cocoa and puts extra marshmallows in it and stuff like that. And it's just like this nice, warm, fuzzy thing. And then she'll post on Facebook, I have the best husband ever. All the Christmas tree lights. And it gives you lots of warm and fuzzies. And I proved my love to her once again this year. And even though I almost died, okay? But the thing is, taking all this stuff down, I get nothing. I take all this stuff down, and it's like no marshmallows, no Facebook posts, no nothing. In fact, nobody even helped me get the bins out there. I had to beg everybody, and it's like to get the bins and put them away, all right? Nothing, okay? Why? Because it's kind of taking them down is depressing. And so I started thinking about it, and I got this little video clip. It was why Christmas lights? We love to light up our houses and our trees because Jesus is the light of the world, and we're celebrating his birthday, and Jesus is the light of the world and shining it bright, okay? But only in the month of December, okay? January through November, we ain't got any lights going on. And so I started thinking about why is that? So I'm kind of tempted, because I haven't taken the outside ones out, kind of tempted to be those kind of people instead to just leave their Christmas lights up all year. And some of you guys are going, oh, you guys are those people. I knew this was a cult. We're going to celebrate the light of Jesus all year. And that's why we're starting this year, and most likely we're not going to keep them up much longer. Trust me. But tonight, we're talking about lighting our lights, letting our light shine before man. We've been on this series in the Sermon on the Mount in the book of Matthew. It's this famous sermon that's up by the Sea of Galilee on this mount called the Mount of Beatitude that overlooks the Sea of Galilee. And it's just kind of this natural bowl where there was just tons of people listening to Jesus preach. It was kind of in the midst of his ministry as it kind of launched his ministry. And there's people that traveled for hundreds of miles to come hear Jesus teaching because it was different. And he starts out his illustration by giving these things called the Beatitude, these 8 things on how to be happy. Blessed are you who do these things. If you want to be happy, which everybody certainly wants to be happy, right? If you do these things, and yet it was completely counterculture as we've been studying to what the world says happiness is. He says, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, who mourn, who are meek, who are hungry for righteousness, who are merciful, who are pure at heart, who are peacemakers, and who are persecuted. And so he starts out his introduction on this sermon, and he starts it out, and he talks about what a real Christian looks like. What does a blessed, happy Christian look like? And now he's getting into the meat of his sermon on how do we do that? How do we accomplish these things? This is kind of the how-to section. And he starts out, and last time, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about, he starts out and says, you are the salt of the world. That we are salt. We're supposed to give it flavor. All right, we're supposed to give it flavor, but we're also to preserve the truth of what God has given. And salt has those 2 properties. And we stopped right there, but he's going to carry that on into this thing called light tonight. And so let's look at Matthew chapter 5, verses 14. As Jesus gets into the meat of this sermon, he says, you are the light of the world. He just said that you are the salt of the earth, and now you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. It's a pretty powerful thing, all right? I'm going to have everybody kill the lights here because I'm going to, there's different kinds of lights, and we're going to just show those. So if you guys can black stuff out for me, that'd be awesome tonight. Oh, wow. Nice. There's different types of light. We got this one. This is like fire, right? This is like the first thing. Now, you got to understand, when he taught this, they did not have a lot of lights like we have today. And in fact, they didn't have electricity, okay? But they had lamps. They had oil lamps, these little lamps that would have olive oil with a wick stuck in them. And so they had fire. This was their light. It's not very bright, but this is the light. Right? We have different lights. Now we got little flashlights. This is like a little keychain flashlight, Some of you guys have these on it. Now, this is the coolest thing ever. When they came up with the smartphone, they came up with an app called Flashlight. So I got my little app here. And how many of you guys use this a lot? Some of you guys use this more than a phone. My kids use their phones to text and use it as a flashlight. Should have saved the money and just got them a flashlight. But that's pretty bright. Yeah, those are great. Let's see what else we got here. We got little lanterns here. These are great. Wow, we got a little lantern to go out. And years ago, some of you guys out there maybe had to use a kerosene lantern. And you'd have to go out, use the outhouse maybe. My dad did. That was before they invented the wheel. And then... yeah, so they got little, ooh, look at that. If you have an emergency along the road, just let people know. Should I just leave that on? It's freaking everybody out. This one's awesome. I love this one. This is a trouble light. Some of you guys use this a lot in the shop, and you can kind of check out stuff. And we always had one of these to work on a car with, and always burn the hair on your arms. This is one of my favorites right here, is the spotlight. Some of you guys out there. Okay. Youth kids, hands to yourself. Thank you. All right. This is the one that my dad used a lot of times when I was coming home. He'd just hit me down the street and bring me home with the spotlight. But there's lots of lights. We can bring the lights back up for now. And something sad happened at the beginning of this year. And is that the Edison light bulb is no longer going to be made. This is the Edison light bulb. I went psycho and bought out what Menards had, these are going to be our grandkids won't even know what this thing is. That's why I'm going to save a bunch and put them in the safe, because maybe they'll be worth a lot of money. Look at this old antique. Be on the Antique Roadshow. Well, that's a 60 watt from 2014. That was one of the last ones they made. It's worth a lot of money. Our grandkids, they won't, we'll bring these out and they'll be like, what is that, Dad? What is that, Grandpa? Great-grandpa? I don't know what that is. And I'd be like, back in my day, we didn't have no fancy LED lights. When our bulbs burned out, we just shook them. See, a whole generation's not going to know how to check a light bulb anymore. Are you with me? What are we going to do? I have no idea. You can't buy this because supposedly they're not very energy efficient, but I don't know. They're cheap, all right? I went and tried to buy some LEDs and those little fluorescent things. Oh, my goodness. Those are ridiculous, right? But when the politicians kind of told us that, they got to tell us which light bulbs we can use now, because apparently we can't figure that out. So they're going to tell us how to, but they forgot one big major point, is because we're going to lose a whole generation of jokes, light bulb jokes, because no longer are they going to be screwing these things in, all right? They're going to be fancy-nancy LEDs that just kind of like poke in and stuff like that. They're not even going to know. Our next generation is in trouble. They're not going to know how many people does it take to screw in a light bulb joke? Like, how many presidential cabinet members does it take to change a light bulb? None. It's their job to keep the president in the dark, right? They're not going to have that joke. Like, how many people from Linton does it take to change a light bulb? It takes two. You guys should know this. It takes two people from Linton. One to drive their home to the hardware store, the other to buy the bulb and screw it in. Down, 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 down. Okay, maybe that's over here. How many wives does it take to change a light bulb? Anybody know this one? How many wives does it take to change a light bulb? I'm getting the evil eye from my wife. Nobody knows. They're too busy trying to change their husbands. Okay. Sorry. We're going to lose those. Those are great jokes, man. We grew up on those light bulb jokes, and now we're going to just completely lose them, and nobody in Washington took that into consideration, and so I'm a little bit bummed about that. But he starts out, and he says, you are the light of the world, okay? There's lots of different light, and we're going to talk about light, but he says, you are the light of the world. He didn't say the politicians are the light of the world, the leaders are the light of the world. He didn't say the dudes in Rome that are running the time of the guys that are running basically the world at that time. They're not the light of the world. People in Hollywood are not the light of the world. He didn't say the successful and the movers and the shakers and those that are on the top of society are the light bulbs or the bright lights that we look and guide us. He says, you are the light of the world. He said, you are the salt of the earth and you are the light. You and me are the light of the world. In John 8, chapter 8, verses 12, let's read that. This is what Jesus says when he's being questioned by the Pharisees. And he says this, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Man, Jesus used this illustration of light so many times. In the Bible, it talks about light and God as being this light. When Moses received the 10 Commandments, he couldn't even look upon the light of God. And in fact, because he was in God's presence, he came down off the mountain, he was glowing. He was like the first tanning booth up there, and he glowed. He had the high pro glow, I called it. Purina, remember that when their dogs had the never mind. They used the word light to talk about the Holy Trinity. Light is used to describe God and the Holy Trinity 232 times in the Bible. And in fact, oftentimes light is contrasted to the darkness of Satan and the fallen angels and destruction and death and hell and eternal burning forever and ever. These two concepts that we see even played out in Hollywood movies between good and evil, light and dark. And he says this in Revelation chapter 22, verses 5. Let's read that together. Revelation chapter 22, 5. It says, there will be no more night. This is in the end when we're with the Lord in heaven. They will not need the light of a lamp or the light of the sun, for the Lord God will give them light, and they will reign forever and ever. So he turns around and says, you are the light of the world. But he's also said that about himself. He says, I am the light of the world, and whoever follows me will never live in darkness, but will radiate my light. We are just kind of mirrors reflecting his light. That's all we are. And there are a lot of things that can block that light in our world, and they want to squelch that light. We're supposed to radiate and reflect the light of God, but there's some problems with light today. And we're going to talk about 4 problems. So if you want to write this in your notes or write it on your friend's forehead so when you afterwards you can see it on their forehead so you can get this down. I'm just kidding. You guys out there? That was a joke? You guys with me? Okay, here we go. Problem number 1 with the light is counterfeit light. Let's read this in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. This is a problem that we have with light because there's lots of different light out there and we got to figure out what's the true light. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then that his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness, for their end will be what their actions deserve. It says Satan, he's not this evil creature that looks totally nasty and scary. He masquerades as an angel of light. He's very deceptive. Went to the store and tried to find, I got these Edison light bulbs, but then I had to find what's the replacement, what's going to be. And have you ever seen these little fluorescent ones that they have now? And so you buy some of those little guys, and I remember I bought some too. I was going to save money in my kids' room and outside because they seem to leave the lights on in their room all the time, and they're supposed to be more energy efficient. So I put those bad boys in there. But you know what? When you turn it on, there's like a delay. And then it starts flickering a little bit. I got this little flicker, and it was like a disco in their room, So we're like, my kids are like dancing every night. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. There's no dancing in our house. And so we had to change those out. And then I put them on the outside of my house because I'm like, wow, we could leave the lights on all night and stuff like that. We won't use a lot of electricity, but I put them outside. And you know what? In North Dakota, when it's minus 30, you turn the switch on and they go, no, nothing. They don't work. Just give me a regular light bulb. When I put it in there, it goes on. Thank you, Edison. Right? Amen? Anybody with me on that train? It may look like a light bulb, but it's a counterfeit. Counterfeit light. It's not the true light. And here's the deal. We all at times, even children of God, as we want to reflect God's light, at times we are hypocrites. At times we're fallible and we may not reflect God's light like we should. But it's a source that matters, the true source that matters. And friends, here's the deal. The world is wanting to change the light of God. Like they're getting away with the Edison light bulb. I'm telling you what, the church is under the same attack. There are people that are saying, we don't want to hear what you guys are trying to spread as Christians. And I'm telling you what, unfortunately, my generation and the next, my children, are going to be facing this even more so. The society that says, you know what, Christians, your bulb that you're burning, that light source, it's too bright. We don't want anything to do with that. We have a better, more efficient one. We got LEDs that last longer. We got fluorescents that are cheaper. And we want to celebrate all different kinds of lights. So, you know, if this is your light, then hey, then let it be your light. And so we're all going to get along, and it's tolerance. And we got the little bumper sticks that say coexist. And we're all just got different kinds of light today, and this is good. And so don't tell us that your light is the only light that can light the path of life. Don't tell us that this bulb that's outdated with old technology that's been around for thousands or hundreds of years, or the gospel that's been around for thousands of years, Christians, we don't want to hear about that because it's outdated. That's not where the world's at. Get with it. And that's a problem. The world is trying to change our light. Satan is masquerading as an angel of light and telling all of us that we need to change. And the saddest thing it is, I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, but it's here. The church is being pressured to change its light source like never before. And in fact, my dad and I have had numerous conversations. It's sad as we've seen some denominations around us that have completely changed the bulb. So how do you know which one's counterfeit and which one's the real deal? There's an easy test, and it's problem number 2. And this is something that people don't realize, is that light gives heat. True light gives heat. This little lantern that I have, this is an LED lantern. This one I can hold all day. Matthew chapter 5, verses 16. This is part of his sermon. Let's read that together. It says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." True light gives heat. In fact, I remember working on the cars when it's cold, and sometimes you guys have ever done this. You have your trouble light, and you put your hands around it, right? When your hands are freezing and you're working outside in North Dakota on your tractor that doesn't want to start your truck, and you put your hands around it, and it's giving heat. In fact, my wife figured this one out pretty early in our marriage. We went to church camp, and we decided that we were going to take my parents' travel trailer. And so we went to church camp and had this cool trailer. It was my parents, and you know, we had lots of activities. A lot of them were outdoor activities. My wife's not really into hiking and, you know, river rafting and all those kind of things. And she says, we're going to have a ladies' night or a ladies' day at my camper. We're going to like serve tea and do nails and just have a little time for ladies in the camper that we're borrowing from my parents. So she gets the whole camper ready and has all the ladies come on. And she's cleaning up and putting all the blankets and stuff and just packing it up in the bunk bed. And all the ladies start coming. And in fact, they were having a really good time until smoke started pouring out of the bunk bed. And the little nails and the little pampering and the ladies' time became emergency evacuation time. as the futon mattress she had on the floor was stuffed in there next to a light bulb that she had on, and it started on fire. And welcome to the family, Heather, and she burns down our parents' camper. We caught it in time, but a mattress was never the same. It gives heat. I don't know what it is with my wife and fire, but there's a lot of stories. Good thing we have a fire department close by. True light gives heat. This is heating up. How you can tell between people that are just shining a light and saying this is the way you go is because the purpose of it is a couple of things. It's not just look at my light, like a lot of Christians. Hey, look at my light. This is the way to go. Everybody over here, Christianity right here. Jesus is the only way to God. I got the light. I'm on this street corner just showing people the way, which is good. But if it doesn't have heat for those people with cold hearts, we're in trouble. The purpose of God's light is to shine a path, to reflect Him and say, this is the way to God. This is the way to eternal life. This is the way to blessed life, to eternity. Over here, it's not over here, look at me or look at the pastor, but then also when they come closest to warm the hearts of man, heat. But there's a lot of bright Christians with cold hands. And there's a lot of bright religions with cold hands. But Jesus was the light of the world, but I guarantee you He had warm hands and healing hands. And He asks us to be the same way. True light gives heat. Hopefully it doesn't start on fire. Problem number 3 happens when... Problem number 3 with light is a bulb is no good when it's left in the box, this little protective little sleeve, right? Bulbs are no good in the box. What good is a bulb when it's left in the box? Matthew chapter 5, verses 15. He says this right before the last verse we read. He says this about it. It says, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all that are in the house. You don't take your light if it's dark out and you don't put it under a stand. It says you don't put it under a basket. There are too many great Christians that have the truth of God that don't want to shine it. Sometimes we kind of use God as this emergency flashlight. I'm not going to shine it. I'm going to save my batteries, and this is kind of what we do. I'm not going to, I'll come to church and we'll let the pastor shine his light bulb, but because that's his job, and we give to the offering, and it pays his salary, so he can shine brightly. But I'm going to save mine for a rainy day because I want to live like I want to live. But then when I get in trouble and I find myself down a dark path, then I'm just going to bring this out as an emergency flashlight. And if I'm really in trouble, then I'm just going to let it just kind of like flash. And God, help me out. Please help me out. That's not how we're supposed to live life. I'm telling you what, shining your light for Jesus is a way of life. It's not when we just get dark. It's a way of life because He's calling us not only to find our way, but to help other people find their way to Him. Another thought is some people, they want to make sure everything is right. They want to make sure that the right electricity and the right socket and the right light fixture and it matches the house. And we're not going to use this until we got the right power, the right fixtures, and the right everything, okay? What are we waiting for? Jesus says, you are the light of the world. I want you to shine it. Some people think, well, maybe I need to have a theology degree. I don't know enough to shine for Jesus. What if they ask me questions? I don't know. You know what? You know more than somebody else. Shine what you know. Reflect what you know. We're going to wait for the pastor to help do something, and then we'll jump on. Or maybe we're going to, you know what? I can't shine a light because, I got some sin issues in my life that I need to deal with. So I guess you're going to wait till you're perfect to shine a light. It's time to shine as bright as you can. And friends, it's going to cost us to shine. Like I think it's never cost us before. Maybe you're afraid that your light will be too bright for people. If you've ever driven down Highway 30, nobody puts their dims on, do they? Everybody just goes with the brights. Hey, how's it going? Or maybe you're afraid you might offend because, the message that there's only one way to eternal life, and that's through Jesus Christ. He makes that claim, not me. I just happen to believe it. And I want to shine that same message that Jesus made. But we're afraid it's not politically correct anymore to shine our lights bright, okay? But true light is bright, and it may hurt people's eyes. Jesus says, I didn't come to bring peace. I came as a two-edged sword. So he was sleeping. I need this. Wake up. Yeah, Rick, sound asleep. Hey, Rick. He says, I came to shine truth into your heart, to illuminate it. It's a two-edged sword. And so people aren't going to like the truth. But the truth may hurt, but it sets people free. But you can't forget that light gives heat too. Jesus did both. He shone a bright light, but he had warm hands. And we can't wait till we can't wait till everything's perfect. And we have all these people at church that sit in this box, and he's saying, what good is the bulb in the box? Use it, shine bright. And some of you guys are like, well, I don't know how to even plug in. I don't know what's going to go on. I'm saying the power of God is within you. He will tell you what to do. We just have to be bold and say that we know the truth. And there's so many people that are lost and going to eternal hell. They're living in darkness. And they will continue to live in darkness for eternity. But you have the light within you to shine. I need a volunteer. Somebody come up here, please. Yeah, Jimmy, come up here. You have the light and the power within you. I want you to just check this bulb out. Push on it. There's no funky stuff. Regular bulb, right? Regular bulb. I want you to, have you ever done friction before between your hands? Okay. I want you to take your hands together, and I want you to rub them as fast as you can. As fast as you can, and then I'm going to have you rub my hand, okay? I want to see what happens, okay? See that? Let's turn these lights off. Do it again. No funky stuff. Look at that. Okay, bring the lights back on a little bit. You try it. No, some people are like, well, he's using a ring or he's using something kind of funky, so let's do it again. You got to do it really. Yeah, I need a lot of friction to do this. I'm going to stick in my mouth here. Turn the lights off. Do it again. Faster, faster. We're losing it. All right, now. All right, bring the lights back on. Give Jimmy a hand. The point is, you have the power within you. You don't need a theology degree. You don't need to have all the answers. You just have to know one guy that does, and that's Jesus Christ. And he says, just reflect me. Just be like me. You don't need a fancy fixture, and you don't even need 110. I am your power source. I will light and I will give heat to those around you. Just be willing. Problem number 4. The problem with us waiting has caused the biggest problem of all. The problem with us delaying and just coming in together as a church and just saying, hey, we're going to sing songs and light it up. See, the world's okay with that. The devil's okay with us just singing around here and lighting bulbs around here. It's when we take it outside these walls that people have a problem. Henry Blackaby introduced this concept of what's wrong with our society. And our society seems to be going down the tubes. And you watch the news and you see all the things that are happening, from politics to money to just life to what's happening around us. All these things are going down and down and down. And it's so easy for us to look at and point fingers and say, man, it's the darkness. It's getting darker out. The truth is being lost. It's not being illuminated. And we're trying to shine these little lights for Jesus Christ, but nobody wants us to light them up. And they're trying to extinguish them and turn out our lights. The world is getting darker and darker, and it's because of these evil people, and it's because of all these people that don't love Jesus Christ. It's all these sinners and all these people that are damned to eternal death and hell. It's their fault, and it seems like they're growing in strength and power, and so we can look at that and we get discouraged. And Henry Blackaby said a statement. He said, the problem is not the darkness. The problem is the light. The problem is the light. And he said this because if you look at the properties, it's so awesome that Jesus used this illustration of light. If you know from science and physics that light is a series of wavelengths, you can have like a full spectrum light, like for our fish tank, we used to have a full spectrum light that has all the colors, and all the wavelengths have the colors have different wavelengths that reflect. And so light is a series of wavelengths. And darkness, when it's dark, when we turn off these lights, these lights right here are giving wavelengths, and you guys are seeing them with your eyes, and this is how it's going. But if we turn those down, there's darkness. And darkness is the absence of light. That's the definition. Darkness is the absence of light. There is no waves in darkness. The amount of darkness is relative to how much light is present. So if there's a lot of light, then there's not very much darkness. And if there's not very much light, then it's very dark. And it's amazing. They say one candle, you can see it almost 10 miles away with the naked eye. One candle, one light source, one light wave that comes, you can pick it up. But if that's extinguished, it's dark, and darkness is nothing. And it's so amazing that Jesus says, you are the light of the world. You're the wavelengths. You are the salt. You are the flavor. You are the wavelengths. Darkness just acts like darkness, friends. The reason why our world is getting darker is because it's just acting like darkness, but it's relative to what the light is doing. And friends, the light is not doing very much. It's our fault. Darkness just acts like darkness. They're lost. They've been in darkness. They don't know any better. People that are living in sin will continue to live in sin and darkness because there's been no light to illuminate that darkness within them. So that how dark a culture is indicative of how much light is present or absent. And the amount of darkness is directly controlled by us. I think this is a thing that's a tragedy in the church, is that we love to go point fingers. And we say from top government to greed to all these things that are wrong with our world, and look at this next generation and all that kind of stuff. When we should be looking at our own lives. The problem is the light. There was a little girl in Sunday school class, and they were teaching on this, and they were singing that song, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." And they actually had everybody in the classroom have a little candle. And the teacher was teaching on this exact same scripture, and she was teaching the little kids in the same way, let your light shine for others that they will see your good works and glorify God in heaven. And they were all learning the verses, and they were comparing it to a candle, let it burn for Jesus Christ. And so on the way home, the mom asked the daughter, what did you learn in Sunday school? And she was talking about her candle and letting your light shine. And so the mom was asking, what does that mean? And she says, well, I think we're just supposed to do the right things. We're supposed to shine for Jesus and try to point people to Jesus and be like him. And she goes, that's absolutely right. He says he is the light of the world, and we're supposed to reflect what Jesus does and lives. And it was one of those special moments in the car, and like, wow, man, they got it. Cool. But later on in the afternoon, she started fighting with her brother. Sometimes siblings do. I've heard, not in my family, but because we're pastors' home, but other families I've heard they fight. And that was a lie. They were starting to fight, and the mother took this opportunity to give an application to what they talked about earlier. And she sits down with her daughter, and she says, honey, didn't you just learn in Sunday school class that you're supposed to let your light shine, your little candle just shine for Jesus Christ? She turns to her mom and she says, yeah, Mom, but I blew myself out. And that's the problem, is because life will blow you out. Well, we live in a very pain-filled world, and sometimes you're just trying to keep your own light going in the wind. Sometimes others are coming alongside just wanting to blow it out. You're having a hard time just keeping this thing lit. Have you ever tried to light one of these things with these safety switches? And that's you in the wind, and you're like, I can't even keep this. How am I supposed to shine bright for Jesus when I can't even keep my own? Because we live in a world that wants to blow out this light of Jesus Christ. They want us to change the bulb. And friends, we are not about to change now. But I believe that within all of us, he has the power to shine through it, to shine through the storm. But we're not going to be a church that just says, hey, we know the truth over here. Come look at us. Because true light gives heat to warm hearts around us. And it takes all of us to shine and to reflect that radiant glow of Jesus Christ. So as we start this new year, it's a challenge. He's calling us to be salt, to flavor, to challenge, to make a difference, to preserve the truth of the gospel, but he also wants to shine it bright. Not just when we come together on Sundays, but when we leave this place. He wants you to reflect him. Because if we're going to change the darkness, we can do it. There's a lot of problems. We can look around from the city to our community, to the state, to our nation, to the world, and you can go right up the chain, but it's directly, we're responsible for how much light is put out in this dark world. And that's the challenge. So we live this challenge, and as we go on in these next teachings that Jesus has for us, we're going to shine bright for him. Let's pray.